Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining our diagnostic training session today. Now, if you have any questions throughout the session, if you're joining us on Zoom, just look at the top or the bottom of your screen, wherever your Zoom controls are. You should see a little button that says Q&A. Click on that, and it'll be able to type in your question, hit submit, and I'll get to those at the end. If you're watching on YouTube, just use the live chat function wherever it happens to be on the machine that you're using, and just we'll get to the comments and questions a little bit later as well. So my name is Jason Gabrinas. I'm one of Snapon's National Diagnostic Technical Trainers. Been in the training department the last 9 years or so, traveling around North America, helping techs and shop owners get the most out of their diagnostic equipment. Before I did that, it was a couple of years as a diagnostic sales rep at Snapon. Had about 30 different Snapon franchisees I worked with, as well as the shops that they serviced in order to help everyone get the most out of their diagnostic needs. Boy. Before that, it was 8 years at Subaru. So I was a tech at a Subaru dealership, and over time just became that diag guy in the shop. You know, I always ended up with the drivability problems, the intermittent problems, the weird wiring problems that would show up on those cars. And that's really where I cut my diagnostic teeth, was trying to figure out all those weird head scratcher type cars that would come into my bay. And before that, a bunch of other miscellaneous wrenching jobs. Been a little over 25 years under hood experience for me. That's enough about me, because that's not what you're here for. Our topic today is thermal imaging revisited. So we've had some discussion on thermal imaging before. We talked about how it can be useful both for diagnosing and periodic maintenance or checking ahead for a customer could be a possible problem down the road for a customer, right? For our vehicle inspection. So this really comes to part of our workflow. We always talk about having a good diagnostic workflow when it comes to working on a vehicle. We talked about the pre-scan. You always want to scan a vehicle, make sure you scan all the codes, then go through your diagnosis, then repair the problem, recalibrate or reset if necessary, and then do a post-scan at the end after a road test to verify the operations. We always talk about how that's important. But really, before we even get to that, we have another few steps that occur before this. So the first one is the intake the customer. Customer comes in, service writer or whoever's writing the estimate or repair order needs to capture that customer complaint. Is it a noise? Is it overheating? Is it running rough? What is the problem that brings the customer in that day? Or maybe they just want to do a $29.95 multi-point inspection just to make sure you can check it over for their vacation trip. They're going to drive 1,000 miles down the road. Maybe that's the case. Who knows? But we want to capture their complaint, and then we want to road test the vehicle in order to verify the complaint, of course, right? So is it a noise? Do I hear the noise? Do I hear it on the right side? Do I hear it on the left side? Is it in the front? Is it in the rear? Is it a rattle? What is going on? Is it driving terribly? Is this a drivability problem, right? So we want to road test. Then we want to inspect the vehicle. We're going to bring it in after the road test and inspect to uncover the cause, and we could uncover other issues with the vehicle, as we said. So after we drive the vehicle, we get it nice and hot. We get all of the rotating surfaces hot. And that's really where the thermal imager comes into play for using thermal imaging. Inspection cameras, videos, all good. Being able to see the heat that something gives off, though, can tell you a lot about what's going on with that particular item. Now, to be sure, a diagnostic thermal imager, any thermal imaging device, works off what we call a temperature differential. So in here, on the left-hand side, boy, it looks like the outside is really, really, really cold, and then the inside is really, really, really hot. What we're seeing at the coldest point, what we're looking at is what's in the scene, what's on the screen itself. So we're seeing the coldest point there, 75.6 on the right-hand side, the coldest point, 72.5. So that's what, 3 degrees difference? But over here, the hottest thing in the scene, right over there, that little white spot, 83.6 degrees. But in this scene, the hottest area is 175 degrees in this connector right there. So it's a temperature difference between the hottest thing and the coldest thing in the screen is what we're seeing. So it's not necessarily hot versus cold, because 83 to 72, what's that, 11 degrees? That's not a huge difference from low to high, but it still runs on the same scale. So it's not always, boy, that thing has got to be like 500 degrees. It's not necessarily the case. It's just whatever the hottest thing is in the picture. And of course, it allows us to see the unseen. Here's an example over here. We got a motorcycle on the left, and we got these insulated parts, dual walled pipes here. So we got hot coming off the engine, and then it cools off considerably on this dual wall section, then it comes back together in the collector down there, back there, it gets warmer again. So 770 degrees, holy cow. That's pretty hot coming right off the engine. So you definitely wouldn't want your leg hitting that. And that's why they have the double walled pipes right there, because they would get down to maybe, I don't know, 80 degrees, something like that, 80, 90 degrees, somewhere in the middle. Over here on another bike, we got a heated seat, and we can see the grid in there for the seat heater. So we'd be able to diagnose, is that seat heater working properly? We'll actually see a good and a bad one a little bit later out of a car. Same type of deal though. We got 17 degrees at the coldest and 69 degrees at the hottest. Boy, that seat heater is working great that day on a 17-degree day, while the rest of the bike's really cool. It's probably the more common use that we talk about for thermal imaging, or diagnostic thermal imaging, is going to be electrical diagnosis. I want to diagnose, is there a problem in my electrical system? You can see a lot of things because resistance creates heat. So bad, this is a battery terminal. So we got a battery terminal that's maybe it's corroded, it's high resistance in there, and it's causing problems. So we can see it's warmer. Now the 153 degrees is the engine. It's maybe a little less than 100 degrees, somewhere around there. But we can see that it's definitely warmer than the rest of the battery, which is in the 60 to 70 degree range right there. There's my hot terminal. Over here, after the terminal is cleaned or repaired, we can see it's now nice and about the same temperature as the rest of the battery, which indicates that, well, we don't have high resistance there anymore and everything's working the way it should. Here's a high resistance connector, so we can see just the regular connector after it was fixed over here. And then over here, maybe we have some green fuzzy stuff, something like that, that heats it up, causes the high resistance, and that'll cause a bad connection right there. And then here's I think this one's really cool. It's a high resistance circuit. So it's one wire in the circuit has high resistance, and we can see the extra heat on the draw right there. That's inside the connector right there. And then there's multiple wires coming off, but that one has a problem in the wire itself. We can see that it generates heat. And then over here, it's fixed. You can see not a lot of differential between the coldest thing in the scene and the hottest thing. It's in the 70 something degree range. It doesn't even get over 80 degrees at the top, doesn't get below 70 over there. Somewhere within about 10 degrees right there, 72.3 degrees in the middle. How about relays? What if I have a draw on an engine and I think maybe one of the relays is stuck on and it's causing that draw on a vehicle? Could be. So we can see after a while what relay is on a vehicle. So maybe I just leave it off for a little bit, let the vehicle cool down, but then one of the relays turns on. I can see it's hot when it turns on. And then here's just a different view of that. So we got the outside the camera view and the inside the middle there. This is on a thermal imager elite where it gives you the thermal image. And then this one's just kind of a opacity can change. We can change the opacity down so you can see kind of a screen and screen on the overlay with the heat over the actual picture itself. So same box, just a different view there. Here's a new one. It's a stuck four-wheel drive switch. So it had a problem with the four-wheel drive switch. And we can see how it's quite a bit warmer right there. 124 degrees at the hottest. So that's pretty warm for a switch. Then we can see over there after it's fixed, we can see it's quite a bit cooler over there, under 100 degrees. When talking road testing, we're talking checking periodic, check for failures and things of that nature. We got tires and bearings as well. How about an alignment issue? So we got rubbing on the outside of the tire. So maybe it's a camber issue or something like that, where it's or a toe issue where it's rubbing on the tire. We can see it's a lot hotter on the outside than it is on the inside. And then over here, we can see after the alignment, we can see the tire is much more evenly worn. It's not really hot on that far outside there. You can see it's a lot more even in there. So big difference in the tire. Or how about overinflation? If it's overinflated, the contact patch, the middle of the contact patch pretty much will hit the road, but the outside might not because it'll be pushing out too far in the middle. Underinflation could be the other way. I'll have the outside of the contact patch be hot and then cooler in the middle would be another indication there. Here's one of my absolute favorite uses for thermal imaging. Where is the pinhole leak in the tire? If you can't see it, you don't have to spray the soap. You don't have to take it off and put it in a tub of water and find the bubbles. You ever done that before? Yeah, that can get messy, especially if you're trying to do it in the winter. Whew. Boy, that can get really cold really fast. Cold and wet and a miserable day. We don't want to do that. Why don't we just inflate it, spin it around a little bit and see where is it leaking out. I can find the colder spot. It's not really all that difference in cold, but the cooler spot, that's where the leak is. And sometimes, you can't visually see it until you get right up in there to be able to see it. It could just be this teeny tiny little tack of a leak. So having that right there, being able to use that thermal imaging to be able to see that, that's huge. I think that's huge. I used to spend tons of time on leaky tires and leaky wheels and things of that nature at the dealership. So having this alternative where I can just kind of point the camera at it and see it makes life a lot easier. How about using thermal imaging to show and sell repairs? So we got a customer that says, well, I got a noise in the rear. How do we know where the noise is? How do we find that noise? Well, we got to road test the vehicle, and maybe we hear the noise, maybe we don't. Maybe we can tell where the noise is coming from on the road test. Maybe we can't. Maybe it's one of the wheel bearings. Maybe it's another bearing in the back. So we're going to road test it, get it nice and hot, and then raise the vehicle up. And sure enough, in this case, we have a rear differential here, and it's much hotter on this left rear differential. You can see there's the pinion there, comes in. There's the side bearing for the axle. And then after the repair, we can see the drive shaft coming in. There's the pinion, and then it's all the same temperature on that pumpkin all around there. So you can see it gets quite a bit hotter because friction, due to bad bearings, friction creates heat. How about misfire? This is another good one. I like this one as well. So on this inline 4-cylinder, which cylinder is not firing? Well, it's the cooler one, of course, right? It's going to be influenced by the other cylinders a little bit to an extent, but that one's quite a bit hotter. That one's quite a bit hotter. That one's quite a bit hotter. 334 degrees at the hottest. This one's considerably cooler, maybe a couple 100 degrees, 150 degrees, something like that. That cylinder's not firing. Pretty simple. How about over here on the right-hand side after it's fixed? You can see the comparison, how everybody's flowing, and it's about 356 degrees on the entire manifold. Why is the cylinder misfiring? If you got an inline cylinder or even just a bank of coils, you can see which coil is firing, because when the coil is operating, it's kind of the difference between operating and not operating. But when the coil is operating, it is going to generate heat as well. So I see, okay, I got 3 operating coils and this coil is not operating at all. It is relatively cold. It's about 70 degrees. It's room temperature. It's not actually firing, not generating no electricity flowing through there. How about HVAC? This is a good one. So if I got a blend door actuator problem, one side cooler than the other, one side's not heating up, I put it on full blast of heat, and then this side doesn't heat up at all. It just stays the same temperature as the car. Then I know that blend door isn't working. And then on the right-hand side here, we have it after it's fixed. And actually, we have a new time lapse that we just filmed a little while ago with the HVAC system as well. So this is, I'm going to press play here. So you can see with these are both cold. This is a dual zone climate control. So it cranked up the heat on the left-hand side. You can see it goes warm. And then the right-hand side cranked to full cold. And then we go the opposite way. We crank the right to full hot, left side to full cold. We can see it's about 50 degrees on the left-hand side and about 100 degrees almost on the right-hand side. It's in the 40s actually now. So we can see how it goes back and forth, and we can see the difference between the two sides as the blend door moves back and forth. Now, of course, this is in real time. It's sped up a little bit, but we can see the difference in the sides. You can see how the heat goes up, heat goes down. Cold temperature over there, warms up, cold temperature over here now. We can just see how it goes back and forth. So I thought that was kind of neat. We were able to capture that with the back and forth. And that's what you would see with just pointing the camera at the vehicle. You'd be able to see that back and forth there. How about cold weather items? So I live in a cold climate. You may or may not live in a cold climate, but there are certain conveniences that our customers have gotten used to nowadays. And this actually could work in the other direction too if we got cooled seats. But in this case, we got heated seats. So we see on the passenger side here, we got a good grid there. Everything's working the way it should. And then the driver's side, we don't see that, it's obviously somebody was sitting in here, so it's going to be a little bit warmer, but no grid lines. So that indicates the grid is not heating up. We have some sort of an issue in there. I know when I worked at Subaru, we had a ton of issues with that. They'd burn out. It's kind of like on the bottom there, it'd burn out, and either the bottom wouldn't work or the top wouldn't work, or both. But usually it was one or the other. So you can see, okay, do I need a seat pad or do I need a back pad? And then over here is after the repair, we can see that the heater grid is working as it should. Heated steering wheel. Never knew I needed a heated steering wheel until I rented a car that had a heated steering wheel. I said, "Oh boy, that's a wonderful thing. If it's cold out and cold and rainy and crummy day, and you got a heated steering wheel in there, boy, it makes all the difference. Or when it gets below zero, that's the other way. So bad, we can see it's just the same temperature as the rest of the vehicle, 60, 70, 80 degrees. On the right-hand side, after the repair, we can see that the heated steering wheel element is working. It's all nice and warm there. You can see where the spokes of the wheel are. And we can see how it just, that must be the seam for the leather, I bet. We can see how it goes around about 112 degrees over there. So that keeps your hands nice and toasty as you're driving. Rear defroster grid too. This was always a popular one when we first started talking about thermal imaging. Is that, hey, let's check the rear defroster. Do I have one bad panel in that grid or one bad wire in that grid? So in this case, we do have one bad wire right there. It is about the same temperature as the rest of the car, 60 degrees or so. 80 something degrees on the rest of the grid. And then of course, after it's repaired, we can test it again, double check, and we can see it there. Cooling system. This is some new stuff too. So how about a heater valve? So this is a heater bypass valve, right? So we should see heat or coolant going through here, and this valve is not working. So in this case, it is bad. We got heat flowing through here, or coolant, hot coolant flowing through here, and is not going through the valve like it's supposed to. We can see how it is cool right there. And then over here is a good one. We can see how it flows, and we can see how it flows back through the valve as well. Radiator. This one's really cool too, because we had a lot of clogged radiators at the dealership, I'll tell you. So being able to see the radiator flow, see it's hot on one side and cool on the other side. That means it's not flowing all the way through that radiator. Maybe it's making it top to bottom on this side, but it's clogged up over here. So that radiator definitely is not working well to cool that car. On the right-hand side, we got the good one, replacement after the fact, and it's about 88, 89 degrees. Whereas over here, we were getting 70 degrees on the left-hand side. So that's just as it's warming up, but we can see that it is flowing well. Thermostat. So I got a thermostat housing right here, and you're actually able to see, we'll see on the next slide, we have a time lapse of that actually opening. So we can see a thermostat there. It's warm. Is it warm enough? 153 degrees, maybe, maybe not. But once it does open, we can see that it flows through the hose, and we can see that it's hot over here, and then it just flows through the hose like that. So not opening, opening. So here's a time lapse that we did as well. That center point is on the lower radiator hose. So we can see the engine's kind of starting to warm up, but the lower radiator hose is still cool. And the radiator itself, which is over here on the left-hand side, is also still cool because the vehicle is starting to warm up. So we can actually, this is sped up as well. You can see, oh, there the thermostat opens, it flows through, heats up the radiator. As the radiator is heating up, it also heats up everything else around it as well. So we can see how that goes, and we can see how the rest of the vehicle kind of warms up around that. I thought that was kind of neat. We were able to capture that. Did that a couple weeks ago. So once again, it's going to loop back. So there's the lower hose, heats up. You can see how it heats up, fills the radiator, and then warms up everything else around it too. So I thought that was kind of a neat little capture. Being able to see how the heat flows or the coolant flows through the engine into the radiator and how everything just kind of heats up at that point. It's kind of a neat little thing. How about some other items? How about maybe, this is another good one. How about finding a window leak on a vehicle? I got a leaky window. Maybe it's leaking water. Maybe it's leaking wind. Don't know. But what we can do is we can turn the heat on, crank the heat all the way up, and crank the fan all the way up. Close the window and see, is it hot around the gasket? Is it hot in just a certain spot? Do I have a leak over here in the gasket? That's where the hot air would be getting out and heating up that gasket. If it's normal, it's going to heat up the glass to be sure, but everything else around it should be pretty even as well. So we won't have that hot spot where the hotter air is getting out. Now, relatively speaking, again, 98 degrees coming out a little bit warmer. And then how about radar sensors? This is kind of a newer thing for a car, right? So ADAS. I can see on this vehicle that the radar sensor is working. Ultrasonic sensor, same thing like that as well. If it's working, it generates heat. So if I have, let's say, 5 ultrasonic sensors across the back of the bumper, and one of them is not warm compared to the rest when they're on, if it doesn't have electricity flowing, it's not generating heat, so it's not working. So same thing right here. You can see the radar sensor heating up because it is generating those radio waves. So it is working there. If the other side was cold, then we'd know that the other side wasn't working. So let's take this. I know we get a lot of shop owners that watch. I know we have a lot of technicians that watch as well, but we can use this to our advantage in the shop. We can use this for periodic maintenance or a vehicle inspection. Digital vehicle inspections are pretty cool now. So we want to road test each vehicle. And after the vehicle, we put it up on a lift and start a 4-corner inspection. So we'll do the tires, brakes, and bearings because those are probably going to cool off the fastest. We want to make sure we get those checked. Test the cat, test the exhaust system temperatures. You could actually get it up and running again if you needed to. Battery, check the battery in case we have high resistance in the connector there as well. Check all the pulleys and the belt tensioners. See if I have a bearing that's going bad on the pulleys and belt tensioners as well. We can also check the HVAC system. We can check the cooling system. See what's going on. Here's brakes, right? We got brakes on the left. We got a bad battery there. We got a cat there. We got a alignment. We saw that one earlier, right? We can have all of that on a preventative maintenance schedule. We can have a preventative maintenance checklist. We can add these images as well. If you have a digital vehicle inspection program, like our program that we use with our shop management system, you can actually take a picture and attach it. We're going to show you what that would look like in a second here as well when we go live with that, because the Thermal Imager Elite, which is our flagship thermal imager device, has the ability to upload to the Snapon Cloud, and then we can do multiple things with that after the fact. So it has a high temperature range, -4 to 840 degrees Fahrenheit. So that'll cover most of your automotive needs. 4-hour battery life, 4-inch screen, screen refresh rate 9 times per second. Also has video recording, Wi-Fi upload to Snapon Cloud. Like I said, 6 levels of opacity, as we saw the difference in opacity between the thermal and the regular camera, picture-in-picture and side-by-side as well. So it does, as I said, upload to Altus Snapon Cloud. So let's talk about what that looks like. So I got to open a new window here. Let's see. I'm going to my tech account here, and here's some pictures I took earlier today. So we got a few of them. This one I thought was kind of interesting. So this one's off of my air conditioning. So we got the high side and we got the low side. This, the crosshairs is right on the high side cap. And this is the low side. You can see a huge difference in temperature. It's like 60-some degrees on the low side versus the high side. Now, another thing about this. So it uploaded this image automatically over Wi-Fi. You see I got a left arrow here. That brings me to my straight camera. And if I go to the right, it gives me my thermal without the extra context there as well. If I had the opacity turned down a bit, it would also show my mid opacity there as well. So that's kind of neat. Here's one with the battery with the opacity turned down a bit. All right, so I got my battery there. I was trying to catch my terminals being a little warm because if you can see here, if I go to the left, I got to clean that battery off a little bit. But we can see that's the straight camera. And then there's the medium thermal, and then there's the full thermal image over there. So you can see if we have the opacity down, it will show it a little bit in the middle there. So that was kind of interesting there. There's another shot of the low side. So low side's at 63 degrees, and then the high side was at about 127 degrees. You can see the difference there between the two sides. What was this one? This was, let's see, fuse box. So fuse box, we got some relays there. So we can see the couple relays got some heat going on. We can see the temperature there with that. This one's a cat. So you can see the catalytic converter after idling for a little bit. And it's got actually a shield on there. So it's only like 143 degrees. So it brings it down about 50 degrees. We can see that shield right there. It's got a heat shield for the axle. You can see how that's just a little bit of sunlight there. But you can see there's the cat there. And that's at the seam there, it's about 198 degrees. And then about 143, a little even colder to the right there. So that heat shield really does a good job, I think, there. And then we got the HVAC system as well. We can see blowing nice and cold today, 41 degrees on the cold side. And we can see around inside the car, this is after it's sitting in the sun for a while today, 99 degrees on the inside, 41 degrees blowing out of that center vent. I don't think I need to worry about my air conditioner actually working, because that 41 degrees is going to do a pretty darn good job after a while. And then this one is That's looking down at the lower radiator hose. So the lower radiator hose had not opened yet in this case. So it's pointing at the lower radiator hose. You can see how the block is hot. And then the lower radiator hose and the radiator is about 130 degrees. So it hadn't opened quite yet. We can see it is warming up. So probably a little bit of the ambient temperature is going to heat up that hose as well. So that's the lower radiator hose. So kind of neat that we can do that. And then here's a side-by-side of that heater vent as well. Oh, it got down to 39 degrees at that point. So the nice thing about having the camera side-by-side is a customer might not necessarily be able to say, oh, well, where is this in relation to things on my car? So being able to see that left and right, let me make that a little bigger there. So the target's going to be on the same spot. So 39 degrees at the target. We see nice and cold coming out of the vent. And then we can see the actual vent. Okay, so this is my left vent. It's underneath the radio. It's above the hazard switch. The customer can see that versus seeing some purple and orange on the right-hand side. Maybe they don't quite understand where that is on their vehicles. That helps them give context as to what's going on under the in the vehicle as well. All right, so these are just pictures uploaded. All I had to do is just pull the trigger, snaps a shot, uploads it to the cloud. We also have in here, I'm going to pull up a repair order. And this one has a digital vehicle inspection on. So you can see we have a multi-point vehicle inspection, $29.95. You can go in here, pull up the multi-point inspections, and it's going to pull it up for me. So that is automatic. So we have different sections on these. So these can be fully customized, these digital vehicle inspections. It's going to give us a couple different options. We got test drive, we got under hood content, and then we have actually snapped a picture with the app of the thermal screen to attach it to this inspection here. So under different places, we got coolant there, different hoses. So I got the AC hoses there we were able to do, and then the coolant hose there as well. We could get a thermal image of that. You could do a regular image of this. You could do just a camera because it's got a camera on it. Also suspension and steering, brakes, maintenance, undercar, different sections in there under, say, like if I wanted to go to undercar, if there are any items underneath there that we needed, we could see that. So it's going to go through our little multi-point inspection record. If we have any issues, it's going to put those out under like under hood and so on. And then we could print out the checklist as well. So it's going to print it out for me. It's going to do a screen print. Of course, it's going to come on the other side of the screen. I didn't go through the whole thing, but you can see it's just your green, yellow, red. Then we have green on the hoses there. And then what else did we do? Put it down here. Should be one on the battery as well. Maybe I didn't check that one off. We can see how we have the suspension and steering. We check the springs. We check the wheel bearings, right? We can do the wheel bearings with the thermal. Let's see, tires, of course, with the thermal. Brakes, definitely. If we got a stuck caliper, we could do that. The different fluids, spark plug wires, maybe if the spark plug wires won't work in the battery itself. Radiator, of course, we could do. Coolant, alignment, we could do that as well. Exterior lights, we could do. All sorts of different things we could do with this digital vehicle inspection and the thermal imager, and being able to attach the images to that so we can actually see that and show the customer as well. So here's my attached image here. So coolant, hoses again. So if we have any issues, and we can attach the images either, like I said, with a still image with the app, or we can take a picture of the thermal screen and do it that way as well. So that it's really a good way to help with the customer. You can email this to the customer, send them an image. You can text them from Altus as well. So from the Snapon Cloud, I could go in here and I could text them, I could email them, or I can actually copy this link to a clipboard as well, and I can paste it in to my repair order as well if I wanted to do that. So lots of use out of that. Oh, and then also, if you have a shop account with the Snapon Cloud. So if I have like Shop Gear Mitchell, if I just go in as my shop, what that'll do is it'll upload the vehicle inspection so I can share it this way as well. So if you have shop management, you can actually go in with this and share it that way. as well. So I get a little PDF of that for my multi-point inspection as well. And then we also have the images that I took inside my multi-point inspection got uploaded there too. So lots of useful functions we can do with that free Snapon Cloud service, and the Diagnostic Thermal Imager Elite is able to upload to that as well. So I think that's pretty handy. I think that can be pretty helpful with your periodic maintenance, things of that nature, really being able to see the unseen there. So hopefully we got a few new tips and tricks out of thermal imaging and how we can use that in our diagnostic day, how we can use that for help our customers for digital vehicle inspections as well. So let's talk about next week, because that is my time for this week. Next week, we're going to do another one-off component testing class like we did last summer. This one's going to be on speed sensors. We're going to talk about different types of speed sensors, wheel speed sensors, transmission speed sensors. Really, what's a crank sensor? It's an engine speed sensor if you want to get down to it. So we'll talk about how the different sensors work, a couple different analog, digital, different ways of testing them, different faults that we can find with it, talk about a couple of scope procedures with it as well. So hopefully you can check me out next week as well. If you want to join on Zoom, it's snapon.com/OT. You can go there, register, save your seat for Zoom. 6 and 9 Eastern, as always, every Tuesday. The 6 p.m. Eastern, as I'm doing right now, goes live to YouTube every week. So you can go to youtube.com/Snapon Diagnostics. Check it out. If you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to the video or subscribe to the channel. That way you'll know anytime we launch any more material. And we actually have a lot of material coming over the next few months. So you'll want to definitely be able to be the first to know and check that out. Second, 9 p.m. Eastern also goes live to my Facebook page. If you want to see any of our prior topics that we have as well, there's 44. This is class number 45 tonight. 45 classes we've done over the last couple of years. Anything from ADAS through the component testing we did over the summer, as I said, current probe testing, pressure transducers, basic electronics we did a couple months ago. So if you want to watch any of those are all available on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Snapon Diagnostics. There's a playlist for live training. All right, let's get to questions in a second. There are a few questions here. Let's, before we do that, make sure we talk about my buddy Al as well. So Al also does free training, free diagnostic training, and it is based on an individual scan tool. So on Monday, it's on Apollos, Wednesday, it's on Zeus, and Thursday, it's on Triton. Now, the first hour, it's everything from let's get your Wi-Fi set up, because you want to make sure the Wi-Fi is operating on your tools. A lot of things you can't do on your tool if Wi-Fi is not working. All the way through, let's set up your free Snapon Cloud account like we just saw here. He'll walk you through how to set that up. You can set it up on your own. He'll walk you through how to do it one-on-one or kind of in the class, just walk you through it. He does it at the same time. And then walks through code to completion, a real-world scenario on fast-track intelligent diagnostics and how does it help me as a technician diagnose a car faster and easier. Al's definitely a wealth of information. He's been with us over 30 years. I think he's pushing almost 35 years. He came over with the red brick, if that's any indication. So he's been with us a long time. A lot of good Snap-on diagnostics knowledge. The Apollo class is about an hour long, and then the Zeus and Triton, the first hour is about that same thing too. On Zeus and Triton class, though, they also have scope, meter, that sort of thing in there. So after a 5-minute break after the first hour, he goes through another hour worth of scope and meter functions, a couple of real world examples that you can use as well. So definitely worth your time. If you have one of those tools, you want to learn a little bit more about one of those tools, go to snapon.com/OT and check those out. Those are more of a smaller class. It's meant to be more kind of have your tool in front of you, follow along with Al as he goes through his tool on the screen as well. So definitely get a little bit more individual attention, ask some questions as well. Definitely try and help you out. So let's go to questions. I got a couple on the Zoom. Let's see. Wow, good. So Tom Gebby says he knows a guy who claims he fixed the leak in his sleep number bed. Sure, because that's air. You'll be able to find that leak just like you find it on a tire, right? That's pretty cool. Another shop owner saved his shop from burning down when he noticed a wall receptacle that was overheating due to improper wiring. That's pretty awesome. I'd say that's worth the price of the tool right there, just from saving my shop from burning down. Absolutely. And then Dominic asks, how do you think thermal imaging would work with seeing evap leaks? I think it may work. It's going to depend on the temperature. So your vapors are going to be a little bit different temperature than your ambient. Usually they're a little bit cooler than the ambient. So you might be able to see it. I think probably smoke's your better bet with evap leaks. Maybe use them in conjunction with each other. Put a little smoke in there. If you can't see the smoke, maybe you can see the temperature of the smoke coming out as well. You might be able to see that. Use them as a kind of like a combo. That might work as well. So because remember, it does work on a temperature differential. So if I don't have a huge difference in temperature, I might not be able to see it. You might be able to. If it's a solenoid that's stuck, sure, you'd be able to see that with a solenoid either working or not working with that as well. So yeah, good question. Good suggestion. That might be just another thing to do. Let's see with YouTube. What's YouTube got going on? Let's see. Don says hello. Steven says hello. Welcome. Nick calling in or checking in from London. I know it's pretty late there. Always appreciate you checking out our live classes. London Boss Vibes. Thanks for checking in, and I appreciate you. And GIE Auto says, don't forget to smash the like button. And I agree. Don't forget to smash that like button. Got a bunch of likes on the stream right now. Definitely appreciate that. And hello, the Winton 29. Thanks for checking in. As always, I always appreciate you all showing up every week to come check out some training. So hopefully we got some new thermal imager tips and tricks. And hopefully we learned a few more ways to use that with multi-vehicle, multi-point inspections, physical vehicle inspections, things of that nature to really help you out in the shop, help speed up your diagnostics day. With that, hopefully we'll see you next week for the speed sensors. And enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend. Have a good evening and take care. Oh, I got another question. Hold on. Yep. So Tom says, yep, Tom is talking about the evap vent solenoid. So you energize the vent solenoid, look at it with the imager, see if it heats up. Easier than pulling a harness, that's for sure. Definitely a good way to do evap. So with that, thank you again. We'll see you next week, hopefully, for the speed sensor class. And hopefully you can watch any of our other classes as well. Thank you very much for participating. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week and take care.